Barakada Yahweh, Barakada Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakahak Wadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh that he hath taken against Edom, the biblical Edomites being known today as these so-called white people, so-called Caucasians, your Americans, the British, Europeans, the Russians, the South Afrikaners, and those people over in the Holy Land right now who are of the tribe of Amalek of the nation of Edom. Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman, another tribe of the Edomites, known today as, the so-called Germans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And that least of the flock is talking about those Amalekite Edomites over in the Holy Land, those ISRAELISs, the JOOs, who for the rest of the video I'll be referring to as the 1948ers. And what's interesting is that during World War II, where did a lot of those 1948ers come from to the Holy Land? From Central and Eastern Europe, which again, those Temanites, the Germans, and Germany is located in Central Europe. But again, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Those 1948ers over in the Holy Land are going to do something to provoke a wider conflict in that Middle Eastern region, which is really Western Asia. And what's going to be one of their main ways to do that, provoking an attack from Iran, after doing something to Iran, or just creating a FALSEFLAG, which, as it says, shall draw them out. It's going to draw these bigger nations into that region for the bigger battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, the main part of World War III in Joel chapter 3, on the side of the 1948ers, the United States of America, and those other NATO nations, but on the side of Iran, Russia, China, and her other allies. And I opened up the video with this verse to preface a little bit of this clip from Redacted's YouTube channel, which perfectly lines up with Jeremiah 49, verse 20. As it says in Isaiah 55, verse 11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish all that I please. And as it further says in Isaiah 34, verse 16, seek ye out of the book of Yahweh, the so-called Bible, the Old and the New Testament, as well as the Apocrypha, which is a part of the Old Testament, and read. No one of these shall fail. No one of these biblical prophecies shall fail. Biblical prophecy is taking place right before our very eyes, because we are indeed living in the last days, really the last seconds of the last days before the second coming of the Son of the Most High, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, whose true name is Yahawashi, to save the elect of the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel consisting of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the true children of Israel, as well as the Israelite foreigners who look like these heathens, and to make war against you heathens, chiefly you Edomites. And in the midst of Yahawashi's second coming is going to be the War of Armageddon, the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, where the least of the flock, the 1948ers, are going to draw out all these other nations into that region. But the title of this video from Redacted's YouTube channel is, This is Your War to America. Netanyahu, who of course is the prime minister of the 1948ers, warns Biden, the president of the U.S., Redacted with Clayton Morris, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Because whatever happens to those 1948ers, the U.S. is going to come to their defense, even to their detriment. but I'm going to play about the first 3 minutes or so of this clip. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this video, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
Well, this is your war, America. That's not me saying this. That's Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu telling Americans that this is also your war. Remember that when you go to sleep tonight. Saturday, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said he told his secretary, our secretary, well, it might as well be his Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken. I mean, I know it's a Freudian slip, but let's be honest. I mean, come on, who's really calling the shots here? It really is, of course, him. And he said, look, this is your war. You know, we killed nearly 24,000 people. Your hands are dirty in all of this. This is an American war. This is not just an Israeli war. And Biden fell right into place this afternoon like a little lapdog, announcing that he's sending an additional 1,500 American soldiers to fight in the Middle East today.
And this is just the beginning. The least of the flock will continue to draw them out and escalate the situation until that wildfire becomes uncontrollable. Let's get a precept real quick. This is Joel chapter 2, verse 20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, the North American army, the United States military, the army, the navy, the Marines, the Air Force, etc., and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, that Middle Eastern region, Western Asia, more specifically Saudi Arabia, which is going to be the main staging ground for the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, with his face toward the East Sea. And when we go to a map of the Middle East, you've got Saudi Arabia right here, which, the U.S. has a military presence in. And with the majority of those wars that the U.S. conducted in the Middle East, they used Saudi Arabia and Kuwait as a staging ground for them. But here's that land, barren and desolate. And to the east, what do you have? The Persian Gulf, and above it, Iran, the main target of the U.S. and the 1948ers in that region. And just recently, what did you have happen? Iran do strikes in northern Iraq and say that they were hitting a 1948er spy, facility. And that was in response to what? The U.S. and the U.K. striking areas in Yemen as retaliation for the Houthis' hijacking and attacks of ships in the Red Sea and, the Gulf of Aden. Hey, that area is heating up tremendously. And to the northeast, you have Iraq, which the U.S. has a military presence in, with the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. And his hinder part, or behind him, toward the utmost sea, the Red Sea, and above that, the Holy Land. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things, a great slaughter of U.S. military personnel, as well as these other heathens as militaries that are gathered down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat for the War of Armageddon. But again, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate. U.S. to send 1,500 troops to Syria and Iraq.
Great.
Remember, seek ye out of the book of Yahweh and read, no one of these shall fail.
That's on top of the thousands he's already sent. When did this happen? When did we declare war? We haven't. We haven't sent and declared war there. So this is your war in Gaza, whether you want it or not, America. We send more military, and Houthi rebels will attack us. That's the goal. We'll send more, and then you'll attack us. Just like they did about 2 hours ago, by the way. Watch.
It's been confirmed that the US-owned cargo ship MV Gibraltar Eagle has been hit in the Gulf of Aden by a ballistic missile fired by the Houthis in Yemen.
By the way, is that what they're wearing in England now? What is that? What is that outfit?
I don't know. Tie-less coat.
It's like a tie-less coat, or like he forgot his cummerbund and he forgot the tuxedo top.
I don't know. It looks like a combination of like traditional Indian garb and a Western suit.
Yeah,
it's like
I guess
both of those things.
Okay.
It's a mashup.
Yeah. So Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is also, by the way, not happy with the United States and our recruiting efforts for the United States military. Israel, of course, reportedly very concerned with U.S. recruitment crisis, and it's only gotten worse, by the way. So Israel is very concerned. Why are they so concerned about this?
Yeah, wait a second. That's none of your damn business.
Right.
We'll handle that.
We have diversity. We're allowing trans soldiers to get sex change operations. That's our business. Why is it your business, Israel? Like, we're allowed to screw up our own military. Keep your neck out of it. But of course, it's important to them because the United States is actively funneling military resources, money, weapons, and soldiers. So they're very concerned with our recruitment. It's unbelievable, actually. But it's not when you follow the money, of course. So our recruitment numbers are down.
But can we put that back up on the screen? Look at the date of this article. They were concerned about it October 9th, 2 days after the October 7th attacks. Israel already knew, America, you're going to have to start doing some push-ups because you're going to have to get over here pretty soon. 2 days.
The least of the flock shall draw them out.
Yeah.
2 days later, they had the balls to say, oh, you're in it with us.
And that's the start of it, because you can see other news pieces in December and even later talking about U.S. and the Israeli concerns about U.S. recruitment. So that was the start of it, like 2 days afterwards.
Yeah.
You guys better step it up. You got
to go to the gym because we got a war to fight, you and me, whether you want to or not.
So
with that clip, you get the point. But we can clearly see that with each passing day, biblical prophecy continues to take place right before our very eyes. And Apostle Tahar has deemed 2024 to be the hopeful year of Jacob's trouble, and it's only going to heat up from here on out. But like I said earlier, the least of the flock shall draw them out. It's going to draw out the U.S. and those other NATO nations in on the side of the 1948ers. But on the flip side, it's going to draw out nations like Russia, China, on the side of Iran, which is also a part of biblical prophecy. This brings me to my next article on Newsweek.com. Putin, who of course is the president of Russia, ally, says World War III will definitely begin soon in the Middle East, that land barren and desolate. And real quick, this is Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. Behold, one woe is past, one destruction is past, World War I, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter, World War II, which is past, and that third woe, World War III, which is quickly coming upon us. Putin ally says World War III will definitely begin soon in the Middle East. And I'm only going to read the first two paragraphs. That's all we need. Margarita Semyonyan, editor-in-chief of the Russian state-owned broadcaster RT, predicted on Monday that World War III will definitely break out in the Middle East. In a series of posts to X, formerly Twitter, Semyonyan, who the U.S. State Department deems a Kremlin propagandist, raised questions about when world powers, including the United States, would spark a major conflict, although she claimed that Russia will sit out of the impending war, which doesn't line up with biblical prophecy at all. Hey, we're not living in the times of peace and happiness and coming together. As it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, there's a time for love, but there's a time for hate. There's a time for peace. There's a time for war. There's a time for healing and a time for killing. And with the state of the world, with the state that the world's in right now, what times do you think we're living in? If you're honest with yourself. But speaks for itself. Putin allies says World War III will soon begin in the Middle East. But let's see what the scriptures have to say about Russia sitting this one out. This is Ezekiel chapter 38. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, which is the biblical name for Russia, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth. And that's the Most High putting that old confrontational Soviet Union spirit back onto these Russian Edomites, which we can clearly see with their military operation in Ukraine and, them funding these different nations economically and militarily to stand up to the West, and ultimately them coming to the aid of Iran during the War of Armageddon. And I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, their military assets, fighter jets, helicopters, tanks, S-300s, S-400s, soldiers, artillery pieces, you name it. And Russia already has a presence in that Middle Eastern region due to them helping Bashar al-Assad during the Syrian civil war. All of them handling swords. Here's the main point. Verse 5. Persia, which is the ancient name for Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. All of them with shield and helmet. And all you got to do is look into the news and see that Russia has dealings with all these nations. Ethiopia, as well as Iran, just became members of the BRICS. And Russia is helping out, their side in Libya right now in the fallout of that U.S.-NATO Libyan civil war. Gomer, which is speaking of Turkey, which at some point Turkey is going to completely abandon the West and ally themselves with Russia. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the North Quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company, or your allies that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So much for Russia sitting out, World War III in the Middle East. The least of the flock shall draw them out, shall draw out the Northern Army, shall draw out Gog, shall draw out Iran, etc., etc. But now I'm going to close it out. In Joel chapter 3, I'm going to start at verse 9, the main event. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, the heathen Gentiles, prepare war, World War III, war against Iran, the War of Armageddon, nuclear war, because the third world war will go nuclear. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Perfect example. Let's scrub it back some. Scrub it back a little. U.S. to send 1,500 troops to Syria and Iraq. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong. And recently with those strikes in Yemen, you've got a lot of the civilians in Yemen chanting death to the U.S. Hey, and they're saying, hey, we definitely are going to retaliate against you. And then you've also got Iran making threats, damn near every other day, saying we're going to take the 1948ers completely off the map. And if you want some smoke, America, you can get it too. And over the last 30 years, in the 80s, the 90s, or the early 2000s, these smaller nations would have never dared to, make threats against the U.S. and especially the 1948ers. But we're not living in the times of the strength of the U.S. or the 1948ers anymore. We're living at the time of the end of their ropes, where they, as well as their entire nation of the Edomites, are about to be taken out of power. Verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, the United States of America, Russia, the 1948ers, Iran, China, Turkey, these NATO nations, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh, and those mighty ones are the death angels of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, holding back this great destruction, waiting to get the go-ahead to release it, which is mainly going to happen after the MARKOFTHE B-E-A-S-T in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18, which is that CHIP-IMPLANT RFID/NFC is mandatorily implemented, which we can see that's right around the corner with all this talk of cryptocurrencies, digital currencies, a cashless society, Elon Musk's Neuralink, and just go to Whole Foods to see that Amazon One Pay, or what do? It scans your palm that you may buy and sell. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is very near in the valley of decision. And when we see statements like this, Putin ally says World War III will definitely begin soon in the Middle East, as well as old Bibi saying, this is your war too, America. The day of Yahweh is very near in the valley of decision. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.